Hey everybody, welcome to UnInfluenced. This is episode, what is this, 54?
54. Yes, sir.
54. 54 dirty whore. Speaking of, Danny, how you doing?
That's fucked up. Merry Christmas, by the way.
Yeah. Merry early Christmas. We got a guest on today. We're bringing Jason Head in. We're going to talk a little bit about, how do I say this?
Pussy and gunpowder. You live by one, you die by the other. You love the smell of both.
What are the two key components for canine success? That's effective training and proper nutrition. Fueled by Team Dog brings those two components to your family and best friend. The perfect nutritional balance that results in a higher mental acuity, energy, overall vitality, and even an improved appearance. Every product you will find in my company's store was born from the battlefield and not from the boardroom. Let my life's work help you become your dog's hero.
Exactly. That's what Jason's here to talk about. No, we get into a lot about people like when we talk about how to come up from nothing, things like that, business and entrepreneurship and things like that. So we're going to mix in a little bit of that with kind of Jason's story on what he went through coming up. And it's a lot of self-indulged issues. Or self-inflicted, not indulged.
Or induced.
But all of the above. But it's not how you got there, it's how you got to where you're at now. Yeah. And that's what we want to talk about. A little bit of come up. And while he's talking, we're going to look at porn. So go ahead. Now.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
So for me, I started using drugs at the age of 15 and just went ape shit with it. And by the time I was 16 years old, I was smoking crack and running around the not so nice parts of town, just doing all kind of criminal activity just to fuel my addiction. And like I said, it started early at 15 years old. Started going to juveniles and psychiatric hospitals and youth villages before I was even 16. And from 1999 to 2018, I spent 15 years, 8 months in prison behind robbing drug houses. That's kind of like what my MO was, is robbing drug houses. And, getting shot. I got shot 4 times with a 40, once with a 12 gauge. Collapsed my lungs, robbing a dope house. Of course, I ain't a victim. I put myself in that situation. And finally, I just had enough. I was still getting high in prison this last time, smoking weed, meth, K2, all that stuff. And, I even got caught with drugs in the unit, got put on a disciplinary wing, still getting high. I remember on Christmas Eve 2015, I was walking around my cell high on meth, man, and we was out of all the drugs, and another drop wasn't going to hit till after the new year. And I was just like, what am I doing? I might got a problem here.
Yeah.
I may or I may not have a problem here. Let's see, I'm in here for robbing a drug house. I got caught with drugs. Everything that I've ever done in my life, destructive, has been behind my addiction. And I just had enough, brother. And, that day, man, I told myself, I said, you know what? It was Christmas Eve. And I said, from Christmas Day on, I'm fixing to give myself the best Christmas present ever. And that's my sobriety, man. That's, it's been the gift that keeps on giving. I ain't gonna lie. I told my parents after I made parole that I was going to start a landscaping business. And at that time, because I was like, I've never done anything productive in my life. And I told my mama, if I can just mow 4 yards a day at $50 a pop, man, I can make $1,000 a week, and I can get my cardio out of the way, and everything else, and the big man upstairs had a bigger plan for me, man, and we got into doing stonework, and for the first 18 months that I got out, I couldn't do anything because I was on a GPS monitor. So during that time, I still had to have a job. But I couldn't do anything because I was on a GPS monitor, so I couldn't go to house to house to house, right? And so, man, I couldn't even get a job at nowhere. Actually, furniture, the Planet Fitness in Rockwall, being a third shift custodian, And But anyways, you know, it's been good, man. You know, I get out there busting my ass and treated people good, and you know, God opened some doors for me, man. And you know, it's just crazy, man, how everything that has happened in my life. So we've been in business almost April 25th will be 3 years, and you know, to date we've done, you know, a little over 1.8 million in business. And for me, coming from nothing, of course, that, you know, I didn't make that. You know, the business, you know, that's what we ran, but. It's been good, brother. It's been really good, man. I never thought I'd be where I'm at today, and for me, I owe it all to my sobriety and just busting my ass and treating people, you know, right. You know,
we're gonna get into your hobbies a little bit too, but I want to touch on one thing because we both talk about this a lot when we're talking about coming up in business and shit like that. You want a support team around you, and when we went to dinner Saturday, it just happenstance some shit canceled on you, and we ended up going to dinner Saturday, and I got to hear more of your story. You brought up your support system, who helped you out getting you lawnmowers and equipment and stuff like that. And I was like, holy shit. Then when you told me the cost of it, I was like, that's support. That's someone who believes in you and for all the shit you've been through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my mom and dad, and actually Christy, my current girlfriend, which is kind of like my, I've known her since high school, but she took a different path, and I took a different path. But it's crazy, man. So my mom and dad, they never gave up on me after in and out of prison. I have 5 TDC numbers, you know, so I get out for a little bit and I do good for a little while and then I go back. I do, you know, the same thing. It was repetitive, you know. I mean, looking back, I was just, I was an idiot, a self, you know, absorbed. I was selfish, man, is what it was. But they never gave up on me. They seen this last time. They could just tell it in my voice that they knew something had changed in me. And my mom and dad, they both gave me some money, and then my girlfriend gave me some money, and you know, so out of the gate, I ain't gonna lie, I had a lot of help in the beginning as far as buying. You know, I had a brand new Isuzu box truck with a nice wrap on it. But even with all that stuff, if I didn't have the good work behind it, you know, it wouldn't have been successful. Yeah. So, but I feel truly, truly, truly blessed, man, because I feel sorry for a lot of these guys that are getting out and that really intend to do well but don't got the help, you know. But I guess really this day and age there is, you know, help out there, man. But now I feel blessed, brother, to have such a good team around me, and even, you know, without them, I only choose to surround myself with like-minded individuals, because if somebody's on even from a lot of people from my past try to get a hold of me via messenger and stuff like that, they see me posting pictures of my cars and this and that, and I don't do it to, you know, say, look at me, I'm just proud of my stuff, you know, and my dreams are coming true. But them individuals I love from a distance. If you really want some help, go to, you know, to NA, you know. If you really want some help, if you want a halfway house, this is, you know, and I give them I educate them on, if somebody really wants to quit, they're going to quit. I don't care if there's NA or anything, just like me. There were so many drugs around me in prison. I decided enough is enough. I'm sick and tired of putting myself in these type of positions, being around a bunch of idiots that don't care about their life, you know. And I was like, man, yeah. But for me, man, I feel really blessed, bro, to have some individuals like that around me.
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm fixing to be 48.
48. And you said 15 was the first time you tried drugs?
Well, actually, 14. So 15 was the first time I started doing cocaine, and
okay,
very addictive.
What weed, was that the first thing you tried? Yeah. Was cocaine the first hard drug you tried?
Cocaine and acid.
Was there a like in your mind a decision making process? Was it, you know, the kind of textbook weed is the gateway drug, and you wanted to try something that was even more fun or bigger or whatever? What was the turning point that made you say, you know what, weed isn't enough, let me try this heavier duty shit?
Yeah, I think it was just more, we were, you know, partying socially, and I think we were just, you know, of course the alcohol, you know, and at that age, you know, one thing I learned about myself is I'm full throttle, whatever it is. And so, you know, back then it was, you know, a 6-pack turned into 12-pack tequila, weed, then, you know, just, you know, enough was never enough, you know. And so I don't think we really, and there was a bunch of us, and you know a lot of them, and a lot of them are dead, that really we didn't know what we was getting into.
Yeah.
You know, if I would have known at that time what smoking crack would do to you, you know, I probably would have never done it. You know, I say that, but.
What was the first time that you smoked crack. What is that experience like?
I mean, it's a rush, brother. I ain't gonna lie. Just like it's just like it's definitely a high that just will,
Is it similar to would you say, or to compare it to, say, the opioid rush? Is it similar to that?
And just different aspects. One's going up and one's going down. So, it's just, it's a feeling that I think that your body likes, and for me, I don't, or especially those are very addictive. Both of those, cocaine and heroin and, Oxycontin, all them, they're very, very, very addictive, not only mentally, physically. So it gets to the point, there's a lot of young kids out there that they don't know what they're getting themselves into, and you see it, man. I mean, these kids from South Lake, Highland Park, Heath, they do this stuff and they don't have a clue, man. They do not have a clue. So, like the other day, I had the opportunity to speak to 475 kids at a high school out in Grand Saline, and I was telling them, man, say no to dope. Pretty much, you don't know what stuff you're getting into. So,
I have a very addictive personality. I would say you do to a point too, to where
not even to a point. I'd say 100% I do.
And when I smoked weed, I was the type of person, I could smoke weed till there was no more weed.
Yep.
Not just, I feel good. Fuck it, let's see how far we could go. And one time, I swear we smoked so much, I got sober. Like the weed did no more to me anymore.
Yeah.
And I had no more aches and anything from football. But, I mean, and I would say, some people say weed isn't a gateway drug. I would say in doses done by medical experts to do what it's supposed to do to you, it's not. But the way they're letting it out now, more like alcohol, I would say it is, to certain people, it's a gateway to do the next step.
Yeah.
But to some people it's not. They'll never go beyond that.
Yeah, and honestly, and I'm gonna be real with you, and just like with alcohol, to a certain extent, but I'm not that certain extent type of guy.
Yeah, I'm not
the same
either.
thing with weed. or marijuana. I don't see nothing wrong with it if you know when to do it and how to do it and just relax.
Moderation.
I think it's actually medically good for you. But me, I'm like you. I'm gonna wake and bake, and then at lunchtime, and then next thing you know, I'm not gonna be able to talk to no customers. I'm gonna forget what I was doing. I'm gonna do, And but that's me, and so I see my addiction coming out in other ways, cars, wheels, same thing.
Yeah, there's far worse shit to be hooked on, no doubt.
Yeah.
It's the first time that you went to prison. It was from being caught robbing a dope house. Is that what you said?
No, the first time was actually against Union Pacific Railroad, and it went through downtown, and it went through actually our backyard, over in the neighborhood.
I know where you were.
And so I was 15 years old, and so we got, a bunch of theft charges for stealing automobile parts off the train, like we were going. What was we going to do with them? And so we had to do community service at the balloon race, but it kept escalating, and so I was I'm full throttle. There ain't no turning me off. So why go, do small stuff when you can go straight to the dope house? And that was my MO. And so that wasn't the first thing. There was numerous stuff. Assault charges, unauthorized use of motor vehicles, evading arrest in motor vehicles, like 4 of those. My record is just like crazy. I've spent so much time in the county jail. I've spent over probably 3 or 4 years in Dallas County Jail. I spent 18 months in county. I spent actually something for stealing stuff out of the back of the tools out of the back of people's truck. Mm-hmm. Now, when I pull up and I've spent $50,000 a year on materials at Home Depot, if I come out, my stuff is gone. Hey, that's karma, brother. And so, but and like I said, I feel embarrassed even saying that, but that was my addiction because there was an addiction fueling all that. I'm a good guy, man. I'll get the shirt off my back to anybody. Yeah. As a matter of fact, somebody approached me out in that parking lot a while back that was from a halfway house selling little banana nut bread. And they were going through the same thing, man. I actually gave my testimony to this young kid and told him, brother, I went to jail out of this parking lot, And we're actually friends on Facebook to this day, And I think, so.
I don't think you should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed if you didn't learn from it. You learned from it and you conquered it.
Yeah.
You turned your addiction to something else, and we're going to get into that. Which county was the best?
Well, Dallas County
I've always
definitely
kind of
wasn't.
wondered that because I was going to go
Dallas
do
County
something.
is just, you know, I mean,
Dallas sucks.
Dallas, I mean, they all do.
Yeah.
But, and like I said, when I was in, probably Fee's the best.
That's what's
But
important.
Coleman County, I was in there for 18 months this last time. And I actually did a Scared Straight program with these kids that come through. And there was a Constable Joe Don Law. And actually, I'm friends to this day with like 20 officers in there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that just goes to show you they like me and, vice versa. But, yeah, no, I mean, it's all trash, brother. You know what I mean? If you like doing push-ups and reading the Dallas Morning News, then I guess go commit it.
Can you even do that anymore? That shit ain't even in paper anymore, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well,
Still
suck
at gas
if it ain't.
stations and shit.
And brother, me, there ain't no way I could read a book today. But down there, I read a lot of books.
That's the only time I actually did a bunch of reading is when I was in for 33 days. My shit was minor. Me and Jason grew up all around the same people. Him and my oldest brother know each other pretty good. And then I wasn't as bad as him. I was just better at not getting caught at some of the shit I used to do. Speaking of books, Mike has a book called Unfuck America.
I've seen that.
And you should check that out. That's a good book. And all you people too. Since Rohan made us hide it, bitch.
No.
Yeah, I'm curious on the first time you raided a dope house. Like, can you kind of walk us through the that process? Like, I mean, it's
What? Yeah, there was. I mean, what? There were so many of them, and game rooms too. These little illegal game rooms, establishments, and stuff like that. But it was just pretty crazy, man. Kicking the door down, going in, putting people on the ground, and
Are you masked?
now a couple times probably was, and most of the time I wasn't because I didn't care.
I mean, because these guys know who the fuck you are, right?
Yeah, and a lot of them did. A lot, and so therefore, at one time I got shot 4 times with a 40, once with a 12 gauge. That was from a dope house right over here in Pleasant, Southeast Dallas. And let's see, a week later he shot a guy in the back of the head 6 times in Seagoville. He's in prison right now for murder. So I spent 28 days in ICU on a breathing machine because they collapsed my lungs. The 40 cals hit me here and here, went down my back. And so I get out of the hospital. I had 8 internal exit wounds. Then I got hit over here with a bunch of bird shots. And but these were they put me down, bro. That was one of the hardest things I ever went through. But so I was recovering on my mom's couch, and there was a knock on the door. And as soon as I opened the door, I looked out, and there was a white F-254 door with a guy with a big old sombrero landscaping hat. And that's what I thought it was. And as soon as I opened the door, he pulled a pistol and put it to my head, pulled the trigger. And come to find out, and it jammed. It jammed. And so we started tussling on the ground. Come to find out it was a Lorison 25 that he used 3 days later to shoot at a U.S. Marshal, which is, I ain't going to name the names, but he's a friend of mine who actually just set up the meeting to talk to the school out there in Grand Saline. But he shot that same gun that jammed on me at the U.S. Marshal, and he shot him with a .223 in right here and came out his blood and paralyzed him. And so that was a hit on me, that because that same individual that came to my house got caught with 10 ounces of methamphetamines, and he was Aryan Brotherhood, right? And anyways, it's just a big old intertwined story that everybody's in prison. That guy that squashed the $8,000 debt to come kill me, he's in there for attempted murder and the 8 of racketeering activity on me. Thing about it is, and I don't hold grudges against nobody because I put myself in that position. But the last time they thought I robbed their drug house, but it wasn't actually me. But now they know. And now one of them's doing 15, one of them's doing 18 on attempted murder, the 8 of racketeering activity for something that I didn't even do.
Yeah.
So, but again, I put myself in that position, and that's that was my reputation. But yeah, just go back. It was just off the wall, man. When you're sick, on especially heroin, you don't care.
Is that where you were on?
I did.
Yeah.
Or crack, for that matter. Crack is probably the number one drug that makes people rob, because it's such a want me drug. But
Even more so than heroin, huh?
it's just 2 different types. Heroin is the type that's going to make you sick, and most of the people that do that are into low-level theft crimes. The robberies, I would say 98% of them come from people that are smoking crack or doing cocaine or stuff like that. But it's all bad news, man. But you know, I'm surprised I'm not dead. And you know, I had so many friends of mine down there that were good people, man. Turned their life over to God, and it was just good-hearted people with good, you know, intent. It's kind of hard saying that they're in there for capital murder, but under the influence of a controlling substance that committed a robbery and killed somebody. You know, and that could have been me. Mm-hmm. You know, I remember one time I robbed this meth lab in Seagoville, and the gun accidentally went off, and I thought I shot the dude in the ear, but thank God I didn't. You know, and I'm just like, man, you know, because everybody knew I did it. You know.
What type of amounts of cash are in those places? I'm sure it varies, but what's an average?
I think probably the most. I mean, you know, you think. It just depends who it is, you know.
Is there tens of thousands of dollars?
Oh yeah, well, I think the most I got one time was 23,000 and 10 pounds of weed and 1 kilo, you know.
And how long did that last you?
Oh well, I went and bought a Cobra R and then spent the rest of it on dope.
Yeah.
You know, I went and spent the majority of the chunk of money. It was at that USA one over there off 175, and. Yeah, so I went ahead and got all this out of the way. I mean, it got me something to show for, and then, you know, of course, you know, went through the rest. Probably a couple of days.
Yeah. So the stories are hard to come across because you were that out of it, doing all the drugs and everything through that whole time?
Brother, I mean, it was just, I mean, there was different times in my life I was more deeper, you know, out of my mind. You know, I mean, there was times when I actually thought the lady pushing the stroller down the street with a baby and it was the feds, you know, and you couldn't tell. There was a point in time when I was on the meth, I didn't have no friends because I pushed everybody away because I felt like everybody was out to get me, you know?
Yeah.
And brother, that's one of the worst feelings. You know, it's just like, you know, I didn't want to be around anybody and didn't nobody want to be around me because everybody was up to something. Even there could be a girl in there, we'd be getting high together, and I was like, man, what's she up to? You know, but of course someone was up to something, you know. But it's just like, I don't miss that for nothing, man. I wouldn't trade my life today for nothing. I've got some good problems today. The problems I got today are some good ones, you know.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into where you're at now.
What was the longest stint in prison that you did?
This last time it was 6.5 years.
6.5. Where was that at?
It was down in Beeville and Beaumont. And so the state of Texas, they got 147 units. The state of Texas is the biggest prison capital, you know, per capita in the United States. So we passed California. I say we, like they. It's got over 150,000, 160,000 inmates. So there's a bunch of units, but the maximum security units, Ferguson, Beto, Cofield, those are some of the. Cofield is like a red brick prison that was built in, you know, the 40s or whatever. It's the biggest one in Texas. It holds like 6,000. But I got caught with a whole bunch of K2 synthetic marijuana on Ferguson unit, and then they shipped me to Beaumont, which is the Styles unit.
What does that mean?
The Styles unit is just a regular maximum security unit, but a lot of times when you get caught with something on one unit, they'll send you to another one, whether like there's too many people in close custody or medium custody or these disciplinary wings. They just kind of evenly distribute people. But that particular unit, it was kind of crazy because there was every 1 in 3 individuals, and this is a 4,000 man unit, every 1 in 3 people on that unit was HIV positive.
Jesus Christ.
You ain't beating people's ass there.
Yeah. So I mean, it was just kind of that was hard to get. You know, I'm not HIV positive or anything like that, and I mean, I don't hold it against anybody that is. You know, but let me tell you this story. I was at Ferguson unit, and I had a cellie. I was in there for 6 months with this guy. He was out of Fort Worth, and he told me he had an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And I'm thinking, well, what'd you do, brother? He's like, and it was a high profile case, and I'm thinking, he's just talking, right? Well, I started thinking, and I just noticed like stuff like my razor that I shaved with, you know, had little stuff with the blood on it and stuff like that. This is before I got shipped to Beaumont. Come to find out, this guy was in there for spreading HIV, brother. So it was known. It was in the Fort Worth. It was in the Fort Worth. It was in the Star Telegram. I had my dad Google him because I knew. I was like, man, this is what it is. And sure enough, it was. So he was a pee-wee football coach that was going around sleeping with all these little kids' moms, spreading this around, and he knew he had it. You know, and I'm thinking to myself, man. So I mean, there is actually a lot of good people in there that catch cases like me, you know, under the influence of a controlled substance. But there's also a lot of piece of crap people in there too. You know, that was one of them. You know, and so right then and there, I was mad. I wrote the warden, you know, and you can't, you know what I'm saying? Why you put me in, that's just like me. To me, that's like me having a 9-inch shank. You put me in the cell with somebody that intentionally, you know what I'm saying? That in the newspaper, it said the DA said he was like a snake in the grass. And that's exactly the way I see it too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah, he's trying to.
I got out of there, you know, and you know, in prison, you're not supposed to like what some people call catch out. But I was not going to stay in the cell with somebody like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't care. And the fight comes with it to anybody that got anything to say about that. But
how prominent is some of the stereotypes that are in movies and TV shows and stuff as it relates to prison?
Oh, it's Texas prisons, all these maximum security prisons, they're real, brother. Just like I'm gonna tell you. So the first time I made parole, I got an FI3. I had to complete a little 90-day program, and they sent me to the Beto unit, George Beto in Palestine, Texas, and that was the first maximum security unit I ever been on, right? And so as soon as I get on this unit, all I had to do is complete a 90-day program class. You know, of course, it's not counting the weekends or anything like that. As soon as I get on this weekend, of course, they assigned me to I-Wing, right? And as soon as they did that, the guy was like, "Oh man, you're in Iraq." That's what they called it, is Iraq. As soon as I pull, I'm going down and they got 4 tiers, right? 4 tiers with like 20-something cells on each one, and so it was the whole unit was on lockdown for racial tensions, right? And so some of the black inmates try to take because everything, like the day room is probably twice as big as this, and you think there's 140-something inmates in there with 2 TVs. It's insane. It's inhumane, really. And so everything's really segregated. Whites, blacks, Hispanics, you know, the Crips, the Bloods, Tongo Blacks, Mexican Mafia, White Knights, AB, everybody's just, it's so, you know, it's just like
segregated that way.
Segregated big time. And it's it almost, if you ain't racist, it's somewhat, it makes, because there's just so much hate in there, brother. It's so negative and so much hate in there. And it's a crazy atmosphere, man. It's hard to stay positive in a situation like that.
So the fights, the ass rapes, the shanking, all that shit is
well, not so much the ass rapes no more, but now in Texas they got a thing called Safe Prisons Act, and so you know you can drop an I-60 and say, hey, so and so's getting raped in cell number such and such, you know. But I think that came into effect in the early '90s. But nah, Texas, and that's why they don't show a lot of Texas prisons on these shows that, you know, different prison shows and stuff like that. Texas prisons is for real. It's for real. And so with that being said, I was saying, okay, so as soon as we come up off of lockdown, I'm in the day room, like this size right here, and there was a Mandingo warrior that got stabbed 9 times in the neck. This is the day we got up off of lockdown. So now I can start going to this class and get on my show on the road, right? They stabbed this dude, a Crip. It was a black on black. Black dude stabbed another black dude 9 times in the neck from here to here, from where I'm at, right? And of course, a lot of these other people knew it was going down. So when they locked us back up, found 27 shanks in the day room. 27 shanks, brother. And so now we stayed on lockdown again. And so it's just like, I mean, but that's the type of mentality you deal with in there. Yeah. People don't care. I mean, what people don't care in there. A lot of them they're never going home. They don't care.
If you got nothing to lose.
They ain't got nothing to lose.
I'm curious, forgive my fucking ignorance as it relates to the some of the terminology, but you said I-60, and I'm curious, how have they stifled specifically ass rape so much with that act that passed? I guess I'm confused as to how that.
Well, it's just pretty much, there's so many like undercover snitches out there. right? And then you might have a lot of individuals that get in trouble for other stuff, and so, they're gonna tell it. It's hard. And then of course the people are gonna get disciplined. Free world charges, so you're gonna catch rape charges, and
So there's just way less of it now than there used to be.
yeah, but there is a whole lot of homosexuality going on in there
Really?
too. Yeah, and I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
How long would Brohan last in prison?
Well, I would say
comment?
this, man. There's a lot of predators in there, and I would say this also. And I'm not racist by no means or anything like that, but it's definitely not a white man's world. And when I say that is for every 14 black and Hispanic inmates, there's one white. And I'm the type of person I get along with everybody. I was a captain's boy on Ferguson unit, meaning, and for meaning not too many white guys had that job. I had a lot of, and the captain seen that because I associated with. I was what you called in there independent wood. I was by myself. I wasn't part of a gang, but I wasn't, a white guy hanging out with the blacks. I was a white that hung around whites or anybody.
Yeah.
I was solo by
Which is
myself.
rare.
But I was, when it comes down to it, I'm down for my people. What kind of man would I be if I wasn't? Like I said, I'm not racist by any means. There's good and bad people in every race.
But and when you're in there, it don't matter if you're racist. It's survival. Because if you flip to the other
rules
side,
are already set.
Yeah.
The rules are already set. There ain't,
And so for those of y'all that are listening, Jason's not a small guy. How tall are you?
6'3",
So he's 6'3", what? About
252.
Yeah. So, not a small guy. Walking around a prison, there's not a bunch of people that are going to be like, you know what, I'm going to go fuck that dude up real quick. But I'm sure
Yeah, but
you
no,
did
there's
have
some bad hombres in there,
Yeah.
and like I said, I went looking for trouble, but you always got one individual that thinks they're running some or try to, hog you for your stuff or whatever, or just try you to see where you're at.
Yeah.
The thing about it is in that situation, whether you're my size or that size, as long as you're going to get out there and fight, regardless win, lose, or draw, you're going to get some respect. But if you don't, that's when you're just going to get mowed over.
Yeah.
So.
Do you ever run into, do guys ever come in that are like legit fucking MMA fighters, like really fucking very well trained dudes that just fuck people up?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I don't know if you know Jeff Smith or not. A friend of mine, Jeff. I just ran into him the other day at Lake Point Church. This dude's 6'4". He's about my size. White dude. Man, I'm talking about this guy, and I fought him a couple times, in there, not there. But you see some guns in there, black, white. I'm talking about you see some. Real badasses in there, brother. I've seen some fights that I've seen individuals fight on the wing, or most people they catch the shower. The shower area is probably about from here, probably about a 8x8 space, and that's the boxing ring. There ain't no, all you hear is bow, bow, because there ain't no cameras in there, and that's on some of the newer style maximum security units. But the older style, the red bricks, there's probably 250 people in the shower. But no, there's some real live badasses in there. But anyway, Jeff was one of the ones that you just talked about. I remember him. He's real good at basketball. He was out on the basketball court, and I seen him drop 3 guys back to back. They were all part of a Crip, gang. And they really didn't like because he was better than them on the basketball court.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with me. I've gotten a couple of scuffles out there because you're not fixing to handle me. I don't care. I'm very respectful to people, but at the same time, you're not going to disrespect me in any kind of way. That's the fastest way to gain respect. There's I've been in 8 fights in all the years I've done, and I didn't win them all, but I win the majority of them. I'm not just no super badass or anything like that, but they're going to respect you. You saying? You get out there and you fight hard,
So Rohan would be someone's bitching like an hour. Maybe less. Like on the bus, a motherfucker claiming. It's the bus driver. Tell me, I got that dude.
But it's definitely definitely a whole nother world, brother. It's definitely a whole nother world that I'm never going to see again.
Yeah. From an inmate's perspective, what's the difference between maximum security and not?
Okay,
Like,
so you got a lot of minimum, well, not necessarily minimum, but medium security. So you got a bunch of counties in the state of Texas, right? And then you got 4 intake units. You got one in Palestine. You got one in what's Texas town? Not Abilene. You got one in Huntsville, and you got another one down in a little bit by Corpus Christi, in Beeville. That's Garza East. And so you got all these counties that go into these intake units. So like if you're falling out of Dallas, if you go out of Dallas, you're either going to go to Middleton in Abilene, you're going to go to Gurney in Palestine. You can stay there up to 2 years. But more than likely, they're going to send you from them units to another medium security where you can stay on them units for 2 years. And then you get shipped to a maximum security unit. And the main difference in those is how many rows of barbed wire there is, and just how many doors you got to get through to get outside.
Yeah.
Because the more maximum it is, you're dealing with killers and rapists and versus, and so they try to distribute. So that if you just got theft charges or simple dope charges, you're not going to end up on a unit with killers and stuff like that. Eventually you will. If you got a lot of time, you will. But yeah.
I guess the difference from your guys' perspective, like from a day-to-day standpoint, is the schedule, is the way that you're moved around, like, is that any different? Like how much time you get outside?
On the maximum security units, you do. There's a lot more you can do.
Really?
Yeah. Well, just as far as college and education and crafts, arts and crafts.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The medium and minimum security units, you can't do as much. And the lawmen, they got more respect on the maximum security units because you got to. That's you got a lot of inmates. They don't have nothing to lose. The little minimum security units where people are doing a little bit of time, they know all the inmates want to go home. The other ones on the maximum security, that is their home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They gotta, to a certain extent, kind of conform to the inmates' rules. If that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they still got guns and
Yeah.
everything else. But you know what I'm saying? To make their job, a lot of them what we call convict or green light bosses, they just want to do their time and go home. They ain't trying to get killed. And that does happen.
Yeah. Have you ever been in solitary?
I have.
And from your standpoint, is being alone for that amount of time, like, did it fuck with you?
Yeah, brother. I'm more than one occasion I've been there, mostly from catching cases, and I wasn't in there. I think the longest time just solitary with no commissary or no books to read. Oh man, it was like 2 weeks, and it was the time I was waiting to go to court for that drug charge.
What is catching cases?
Like when I was on Ferguson unit. Ferguson's a red brick, old school unit. It's been around a long time. That's where I was at. I was a captain's boy for Captain. What was his name? He was an old convict boss, and of course I was using again, getting high. And so with my position, I can go to anywhere. I used to drive around the unit on one of them lifts, from unit to and I could go to every wing. So therefore, I can move cell phones, and I can move it from a cell phone from right here to over there, $150. I was just being stupid, wild and out, being crazy, and but so I got caught with. I took a run I was on Xanax and the synthetic marijuana K2, and I took off running from the lawman because I had all this dope in my hand, and like I'm going somewhere, like I'm gonna get away or something. I would have been better off just giving it to him. But that was catching a case.
I gotcha.
Are you getting a fight? You're gonna catch a case. If there's just so many things. They got rules and regulations in there. You got to abide by. If you're trying to make parole, you got to do it.
Yeah.
There's like new charges and shit like that.
Yeah. If you get caught with cocaine, that's a free world charge. If you caught with a cell phone in a state penitentiary, that's a free world charge. Now federal, I don't think it is.
So I know there are multiple ways or streams, but what are kind of the top handful or few ways that drugs get into prisons?
Officers.
That's number one. Oh shit! Like they're just
But
making
a lot of these officers, a lot of these units are in the middle of nowhere, poverty-stricken towns, or like the last one I was at is Beaumont. It was right in the middle of the hood. I'm talking about it was. And so that's where Josh is at right now. So that's when I got some of these cell phones in there because just a simple, like this regular iPhone 13 mini right here that I paid I think $700 something for, $2,500, $3,000, But this is the main way everybody makes money from sending money back and forth.
You're cash apping and Venmoing people money in prison. Yep. That's a fucking trip, man.
Yeah, and I'm talking about there's some and it's pretty. Lucrative, there's a lot of.
Well, so what? So the officer that's smuggling shit in, what kind of cut are they getting? Like, what kind of money are they making by doing that? A fuck ton. Yeah. So if you see you
think of anything, just a ball cocaine. I don't even know what it goes for anymore out here. But I think I used to pay $120 or something like that. And there it's gonna go for $400 or something, because everything in there is just like 8 times what it is.
It's like Hawaii on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you see a correction officer driving a fucking 911, he's probably doing some shit.
Most of them ain't gonna have style like that anyway.
That's a fucking trip, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Do you guys mind if I ask a quick question?
I wish you would.
What are your thoughts on incarceration versus rehabilitation? So kind of the United States kind of just incarcerates people, just kind of throws them in a cell.
Well, brother, I think it's up to the individual. I think a lot of individuals that are locked up want to blame it on everybody else. It's always somebody else's fault. But I believe it's up to the individual inmate about it. Either you want to change your life or you don't. Whether the help is there. I believe at all these institutions, if you want help, is there. If you want help, is there. Even outside in the world right now, if you want help, is available. Whether it's Salvation Army, Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, even if you didn't have family like I did, it's not going to be as easy as it was for me. But if you want it, it's available.
So
Gotcha.
for a follow-on question in that kind of same vein, let's say, you being somebody who has been in and out of the system several times, you're intimately familiar with, that experience as well as the other side of being a productive member of society and kind of keeping it between the lines. Let's say Governor Abbott says, hey, I want you to fucking run prisons from now on. What changes would you make and how do you think things should go?
That's a tough one, brother. Because if you do the crime, you got to do the time.
But I guess the reason I asked, there's a part in my book which I'll get into. But to me, like if you look at the United States as a whole in terms of incarceration and how prominent it is, but it seems like kind of a self-licking ice cream cone or hamster wheel that doesn't really fix the fucking problem of the time that people are doing in there, in many cases, seems like, at least statistically, from a recidivism standpoint, is that it's not really teaching them anything. As guys are in and out and in and out. And so is it a matter of there's not enough fucking touchy-feely programs to turn people around, or is the punishment not harsh enough?
I think there's enough programs available. I do. Like I said, there's a lot of inmates and other individuals that always want to blame it on somebody else. It's always somebody else's fault. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything like that, but that's one thing. I've always took responsibility for my actions. Everything that I probably should have done more time than I did on all the stuff that I've done, But however, it's up to the individual. I think I really truly believe if you want help, there's help available. And you just got to make the change yourself. To me, blaming it on, because if he said I could run the prison system, I don't think I could probably change. I think it's a pretty well run, and
But would you make it harder on them? So where they're getting some of these people are getting more free time and ain't taking advantage. I
tell you what. I think just like I've seen yesterday on the news, these little smash and grab individuals, they need to make that felonies, because what made that them do all this is because they're pretty much robbing. You know what I'm saying? They need to treat that same as robbery. And I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Because if not, it's just getting way out of hand. I mean, you see about 10 individuals running into a Louis Vuitton store and stealing all this stuff. That's not cool, man.
A couple things I've watched, I've never been to prison. I've never even been to jail. I've never been arrested. So I have a very, or maybe I'm just good. maybe I'm just not bad at getting not caught. Does that make any fucking sense? How many negatives are in there? So obviously my perspective is pretty one-sided. But when I look at, again, just the amount of people that are in prison, and when I see some of these shows, and again, that's why I'm asking, I don't know how accurate or inaccurate or how over-embellished they are or not, but when I see fights and drugs and cell phones and attitude and all this other shit where it's almost like fucking you're dropping dudes on an island, and it's just kind of like you're just keeping them on the island, and otherwise they can kind of do whatever the fuck they want. They can fuck each other up and rape each other and kill each other and throw attitude and burn shit to the ground and break shit and smear shit all over Walt. Like what that tells me, again, just looking at it purely from an outsider looking in, it's like, well, to me, then the punishment isn't hard enough. Like if you're giving them enough leeway to break shit and assault each other and all this other stuff, then something needs to change. Because there's hundreds of thousands. I mean, there's several million people in prison nationwide. And so one of the things that I offer in the book, and I'm curious, to get your take on it, to see, having been through it, would this change your tune or anybody else's tune, is that my recommendation is, just from having been through the training I've been in the military, and knowing how much psychological impact can be had by environmental factors and kind of mental stressors that have nothing to do with other people or anything else, is that if you set a prison up where everybody has their own individual cell and they're really small, I mean, they're just big enough to lay down in. There's a hole in the ground the same way there is Middle East toilets. There's a sink, it's all self-contained. There's no shower rooms where you can fight and fuck each other up. You have one tiny ass little cell. You have no fucking clothes. You have no bedding, and the ambient temperature in there is just warm enough to keep you from freezing to death, right? And so you're sleeping buck naked on a concrete ground, freezing your fucking ass off. Like, and you could reduce sentences to 2 weeks, because I can tell you from having been in these environments where shit sucks so bad, like people be like, dude, I am not fucking going back to that shit.
Yeah.
What, I mean, would that
honestly, brother? I think that's because I do.
It's like you can't fuck with anybody. Extent,
but there's just some people that just they
people
don't care.
Yeah.
Or they, drugs, I think, is the number one factor. I would say 95 to 98% of everybody in there, and they probably get out with the intentions, I'm not going to go back, but I'm still going to get high.
Sure, but it's like
but I understand, brother. Break them.
Yeah, mentally. I mean, coming from training dogs or horses that are real stubborn
break
or whatever, horse like dogs in particular, the ones that you have to invoke a level of compulsion that borders on, like, fuck, I don't feel good about doing this, but that's what it takes to reach an animal's mind sometimes, to make an association with stop fucking with that, right? And you usually see it in really, really high prey-driven dogs that aren't thinking straight. It's my prey drive, it makes me so beside myself that I'm going to chase this. Yes, you can condition through positive means over and over and over, but there are some dogs and some circumstances where, even with all of that conditioning and spending, months or even years in some cases, trying to make a positive association with not doing something, and it just doesn't work, and you're resorted to having to use compulsion and punishment, and it has to be severe enough to where the dog says, wait a minute, nope, I'm not fucking with that. And to me, like, prison just isn't doing that for most of these people.
Honestly, brother, I think you hit the nail on the head, bro. Because because it is livable conditions in there. However, I don't, honestly think that'll ever happen, because you got so many, inhumane. My baby this, and oh God, it's 72 degrees in here, and it's always gonna be somebody crying about something. But I agree with you, brother. I do. I know that would transform me. That was enough for me. I don't want to be in this situation no more.
You would think, though, that more parents in that scenario would be like, no, I dig it. Instead of back in, we'd say, take 5-10 years to build something like that. Back in 2020, my kid would have went to jail for 6 months, 12 months on this charge. Now they're in jail for long enough to detox out of drugs and to scare the shit out of them to where they ain't going to want no part of that jail again. So their 6 months to a year is now 4 weeks.
I know this. Let's say I committed a crime, and my sentence was, hey, you're either going to take 5 years over here at Club Med, or you're going to take 6 months over here. Guess what? I'm going to be over there freezing my ass off doing push-ups.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? And I'm going to be like, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, to me, if there's not a choice, and I know what you're saying. I mean, the statute in terms of cruel and unusual punishment, there's no doubt in my mind a good portion of the country would put that in that category, and it would never pass. But to me, it's just like you look at what just continues to fester and happen, and it's not fixing anything. And it's like if you just keep doing what you're doing and allowing people, to give them, or not allowing them, but giving them kind of the vague guidelines on the right and left flank to do all of this fucking terrible shit to one another. And it's just this cat and mouse game in terms of consequences between the correctional facility and the inmate and inmate to inmate, where it's just, it's like, stop giving people so much rope to fucking hang themselves with and make it so fucking terrible that they're like, dude, I am never fucking going back there. Like that second they're like, maybe I'll score a fucking whatever, or maybe I'll rob this dude. There's that little switch in their mind. It's like, you remember fucking laying on the ground like you've got sores on your ass and back from shivering on concrete because you were that fucking cold? I mean, 30 days of that, I'll tell you, make almost everybody say, dude, I am never going back there. Yeah. I mean, again, just from having been, hypothermic in cold water and being in a shitty environment voluntarily, albeit, but I can tell you, like, SEAL training as an example, we started with 206 dudes and 17 original guys graduated. These are motivated fucking guys that are in shape, that want to serve their country, that volunteered to do this 3 times to just get to that point, and knowing full well that if they leave there, they're going to the Fleet Navy, which is about half a step up from fucking prison. I'd say if you're out in the fleet on a ship working 6 on, 6 off for fucking 6 months straight, it's worse because you get your ass worked into the ground. But knowing that that's their alternative, they still fucking quit because it's that goddamn miserable. Yeah. You put somebody in a position where you don't have the option to quit. The only option you have is that when you leave here is you don't do the same dumb shit that got you here in the first place. And that I think that would fix a lot of it.
I think you're right, brother. I think you're right. And I've read, it's funny. I appreciate your service, brother.
Oh,
and
sure.
I'm gonna tell you, I've read every SEAL book when I was locked up.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, yeah. Now for real, brother.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
I know, and I'm like, man, yeah. But I mean, I agree with you. It's one of them things I honestly don't think they'll probably ever figure out, because this day and age, everything's so. You got all these activist groups that are gonna cry and whine, but trust me, I'm right there with you.
Too.
Well, to me, that's only half of it.
But it's always somebody, and then you got. Just take responsibility for your actions, man. I mean, if you did it, you're doing the crime, do the time, and I mean, I agree with you. I doubt it will ever happen.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I know it won't happen for 2 reasons. One is the one we already talked about. The biggest reason is because of the money involved in it, is that they're federal institutions that are privately owned and run. Yeah, and there's too many fucking greased elbows with politicians that so like it's a huge fucking racket to begin with. It's just it's, to me, it's fucking terrible. But anyway, did you run into guys that were vets, that were military guys in there? Like, is that something that comes out quick? Like, is that something you'd want to let people know, or you wouldn't, or like does it fucking matter? I mean, does anybody give a shit, I guess?
It just depends on the individual, brother. I mean, I would say a lot of it has to do with the way you're raised, man. I mean, my dad was a Vietnam vet, and I was raised to say yes sir, no ma'am, yes sir, very respectful. However, I ended up in there. It just depends on the individual. I respect for somebody. I respect somebody the way they carry themselves. If you're a respectful type individual, I'm going to respect you. You know what I'm talking about? And if you're not, then stay away from me. I'm not going to give you any respect if you. There's so much disrespect in there. There ain't no me. Whether I say there is and there's not. But also there's the gangs power comes in numbers in there, you know. And if you're a big gang of one race, then you're gonna automatically have more power, you know. There's a lot of disrespectful individuals in there, and then there's, you know, people like me. Oh, excuse me. Hey, you know, that's just the way I was raised. But whether you was a vet or you're not, you know, or you was from, you know, whatever, you know, the hood, the projects, or whatever, if you treat me with respect, I'm gonna treat you with respect, you know, and that's just the way it is for me. And if you don't, fuck you, get out of my way. You know what I'm saying? And I've had individuals in there. I remember the first time I landed on Hutchins State Jail. It was 1998. I was on C244 bunk, and I remember this guy Jody. You know, so they were kicking, like when we all went to chow, they were kicking locks off of all the locks in there and stealing people's stuff. Well, in state jail, you don't have no good time. You're going home at a specific. If they give you 6 months, and state jail back then was only 2 years, maximum 2 years. So there was a lot of fighting there because people didn't care about cases. You were going home at that time, right? And so this guy he was like, you know, he kind of this is the first time I was in a state jail, and he told me, hey, brother, I'm going to help you out with your commissary until you make commissary. And so he gave me a couple of things. And when I went to commissary for the first time, I came back with like $80-something worth of commissary. He's like, oh, no, you owe me this, you owe me that, you know. White boy this, white boy, you know. I was like, oh man, what did he have to do that for, you know? And I knocked him out right in front of everybody, right? And so he got up. I hit him twice again. He went down. He was a black dude, you know. And like I said, man, I'm not racist by no means, man. I'm cool with. There's good people and bad people in every race, man. And thing about it he was doing this to his own people too. You know, and so there was this little guy that came up next to me. He's like, man, you better get out of here, man. They're going to jump you. I made an announcement to everybody in there. You know, because at that time you could see there was 4 pods in there. So there was 250 people that seen this happen. Right. And so I said, look out, everybody. I said, listen, I'm not trying to run nothing. But I'll be damned if anybody takes anything from me that my parents bought from me, or period, you know, and people automatically respected that, you know. So it just depends, man. There's piece of crap people, you know, in there, and there's some good people that just made some bad mistakes. You know, I mean, I've got a lot of, I say good friends. They were good friends, man, that are never going home for capital life sentences because they were under the influence of a controlling substance for robbing, you know, out of their mind on LSD, out of their mind on that, you know, that wet they smoke, or Big G, Brian. There was a guy named Brian. He was a pharmacist. He was all juiced up on steroids, caught his wife cheating with somebody else, killed them both, man. But I mean, I remember reading the Lonesome Dove series with him, you know, switching out books, you know, making rice together. Yeah. You know, I was a reader, and I love the Lonesome Dove series was good. But he's never going home. And his celly, Big G, I mean, this dude looked like a pro athlete, man, real respectful, I'm talking about creased down, just the way he carried himself was real. You know, I mean, he was a younger cat, but he's been in there 18 years for capital murder. Robbed and killed 2 people but he was high on that, you know, the LSD that they smoked. He was out of Houston. But he used to carry a Gideon Bible around in his back pocket, man. And he used to tell me, brother, what are you doing? He said, I'd give anything to be in your shoes, man. He said, you're still getting high. You got family that cares about you. You got a parole attorney. Your mom sends you money. What are you doing, brother? And I think that's one of the things that made me snap. He's like, man, I would cut off my left leg to be in your shoes, brother. Literally, I would too. Yeah. If I was never going home and they said, hey, man, I got to take your left leg, you go home. Guess what? Or even 2, I'll be in a hopped up wheelchair. Yeah. Some Velos. Yeah. You know.
Is there any element of guys that are in that position that are, you know, life in prison that they'd rather be dead and they're just like, fuck, I'm tired of this shit, and they kill themselves, or they try to do shit?
Oh yeah, I've seen 2 or 3 people hanging themselves in there
that were life.
Yeah, and some of them not even life.
Really?
You know, I mean, that is it's a terrible, dark, negative place in there. And I mean, it's just, I mean, I was depressed for the longest time, man. I finally talked to my dad. He's Mr. Positivity, man. And he's like, brother, you got to change the way you look on everything. You know, because when I was on Ferguson, it was just so, I'm talking about and there ain't no air conditioning in there. When you have a day room this size right here, you got 140, I'm talking about, it's just a little bit bigger than this, bro. you got 140 something people in here in August, brother, it can get real uncomfortable real fast. I'm talking about it's hot. It's like anyways. Yeah, I've seen a couple people hang themselves, and there's another guy, Chris Sheffield. He was on death row with actually another guy, Ivan Cantu, that killed my friend James Mosqueda. I don't know if you heard about that back in 2000 over there off the tollway in Frankfurt, and he's actually, he's in Collin County right now fighting for his life, his last appeal. But Chris Sheffield was down there with Ivan, and Chris had, I think he killed a couple of people but he got commuted to life without parole. There's capital, they got a capital life sentence, capital, death penalty. Then you got a capital without parole. Then you got a capital with parole, which you got to do 40 years just to come out for parole. But I don't know, man. I just, when I was having my bad days in there, I looked at other individuals and thinking, they ain't coming up for parole till 2050. They ain't coming up for parole. I'm like, man, I still got a mom and dad that's still alive. My ass needs to be grateful. So that was the whole thing about it is, I started learning to, gratitude, equals, I don't care where you're at. And even when I was in the, in the hole, without nothing to read, I remember, it was around Christmas time and they were coming through, people from the church talking about, I must have talked that dude's ear off, man. He finally said, I got to go, but it is what it is. I'm not going back.
Last question.
I love my life now.
Last question on fucking prison details, just because I'm curious. Like, I know for me, if I'm working out hard, I got to eat a lot. Doesn't seem like the food sucks there, right? I mean, what is a typical meal, and how do guys fucking gain weight in there?
Brother, they're definitely going to gain some weight. I will say the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, they might feed you, one thing with 5 different names. It's beef casserole one day. It's it's like a
chili mac.
Yeah, chili mac. That's the number one thing in there.
Yeah.
And but I will say this: they give you enough.
Yeah.
It might be bland. It might be this. It might be that. You might get tired of it. But you're definitely going to come out of there with some weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some commissary ain't bad either. Though,
the commissary's not bad either. So, we've cooked some rice was my specialty, especially if you got connections over here, fresh bell peppers, fresh onions, fresh this, somebody that works in the garden. There's connections everywhere, but you can live in there. There's one guy in there, his name's Billy Wayne. He's like 80 something years old. He walks, he eats peanuts all day long. This guy's like 6'5", like I said, like 84 years old. Jogs around the outside rec yard all day, man, for like 2 hours. He's been in there 48 years.
God
Billy
damn.
Wayne. He killed a cop in Houston, but evidently what it was, he said it was a friendly fire that they did it, but. You know how that goes. Everybody's innocent in there. But
So here's the real question. Before we get into where you're at now, you think you can make a spread outside like you could inside?
yeah, I think I've probably lost the touch, man. But yeah, most definitely I could.
So a spread, you know what that is, right? So it's basically where usually it's you and a bunch of people. You gather up ingredients from lunch, dinners, breakfast, commissary, and we made it in a trash bag and county. I don't know how y'all did it in TDC.
Yeah, there's a million different ways.
But that shit was honestly still one of the best things I've ever eaten. It was some of the nastiest shit when it started. Like you'll save a sausage from a day before and it's wrapped up put in someone's fucking bunk. Yeah, but the shit's good. Once it's all cooked, everybody's fucking cooking with the little
goddamn prisoner potluck, huh?
Yeah.
But now
fucking hot dish.
your
landscaping company, you don't even mow lawns anymore.
No, I did for when I started. I did that for about a week, and then I started getting into flower beds because I seen the profit margin was a lot better. And probably for the first 9 months, I was by myself, and I actually, like I said, so my mom had bought me this was in 2018. Got me a 2018 GMC Z71. I mean, for me, I didn't know she was going to do that, but I felt like I didn't deserve it. But I took that truck and traded it in for a brand new Isuzu box truck, 16-foot box truck.
I remember seeing that.
And then I spent all my money after I did a couple jobs. I think I had like $7,000 to my name, man. I spent $6,500 of it on a wrap. And
But it was like an ad wrap.
yeah. I mean, it's still to this day, brother. And I'm gonna show you a picture in a little bit. This is the coolest looking landscaping truck out there. Yeah, I used to pull up to the Shell station down here, and I know they were like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah.
You know, I get out, with shorts and my cowboy boots, and at the time I really didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I was gonna make it happen. I wasn't going to get over on anybody, and I've learned so much about, shrubs, flowers, and stuff like that, and then. I don't know if you know Jeff Avery or not, but
I do.
a friend of mine, I was doing some landscaping, and I said, brother, you need one of them stone flower bed borders going all the way around your house. It was 180 foot, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And
I just know you need it.
yeah, but I knew it looked nice.
I don't know how to do it, but I know you need one.
I knew, and so that's how through a friend of mine, Frank, that does concrete, he was telling me about his stone guy. I said, man, you mind if I borrow your stone guy? And, the stone guy barely worked for Frank every now and then. And that's how I met Miguel. And at the time, I charged Jeff like $4,500. That same job would be almost 10 grand today, And I think I made like $300 off a 5-day job, And, but however, I learned from it, and that's how I met Miguel. And now I treat him like a partner because 98% of my work is stonework.
Yeah.
And what I learned through this process was Miguel is like way better than all these other stone guys that I see stonework everywhere.
Yeah.
Did you see that job I just? It's over there, and that's so now, we've done. That's what we're known for is the stone flower bed borders, and that I really didn't know how lucrative it'd be, but it's been really good, man. And so, Miguel's real. He can't speak no English, and I don't have that skill because it takes years and years and years to. He's got a craft, not just throwing stone together, but he is good at what he does. So therefore, people want that. When they see it, they want that.
You can tell the difference.
You tell the
one you
difference.
did and one
exactly.
a cheaper person
And
did.
so he's loyal to me, man. It's like, I'll be crazy not to treat him like a partner because I'm not greedy.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's never made as much money as he has, and neither have I. Brother, I've never had no money in my life.
Yeah.
I've never been able to get the things that I got, And so for that, I'm very grateful. I just got to learn how to not to be so consumed and obsessed with, the material things.
But
because
that's not a bad thing.
it's not a bad thing. But when you obsess over it, like I sometimes do, but only because I want the best and I want to make the right decision about it. But there ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know what I'm talking about. I know you know exactly what I'm talking
Well,
about.
when you rush out and do stuff, because I know what you're talking about. You're mainly talking about the car stuff and the motorcycles and stuff like that. But it turned into what you do every day. You're obsessed with making sure you're doing your job right too.
Yeah.
So that translates into other stuff. He's the same way with what he does. I'm the same way with what I do. If you're putting all into everything, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
But if you're putting all into just some shit, you're gonna mess up.
Yeah, like if you didn't care, if you didn't really care about the quality of your work or the quality of the, what you're building or whatever that, then, I don't think, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad trait.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I just,
I think it's a necessary trait for people, and it sounds like the three of us are all very similar that way. For anybody who is obsessive compulsive in general, stay focused on something positive so that you don't get obsessed or compulsed with something else that's fucking bad.
Yes,
so to me, I think it could be a life-saving trait in a good way that way.
Brother. I would say this. Sometimes I got to pinch myself.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, to have the things that I have today, as far as my toys and stuff like that. And I know you guys are the same way. I'm all my dreams have come true.
Yeah.
So far. So
I tell him that all that. He'll call me or text me and he'll be asking me, what do you think I should do about this? I already know what he's going to do. So I just give him the answer. I know what he wants. And it's like, it's the same thing when we're talking. It's like, I know what you're going to do. So here's sometimes to fuck with both of y'all. I just go the opposite way, dude. I think that's a horrible idea. And then you pop up, hey man, I got this.
Whatever you do, don't do that.
Remember that thing we were talking about? I got it.
yeah.
But
I just need your cosign. I know what you're gonna say ahead of time.
I mean, it's when we're dealing with cars, it can get expensive if you cheap out on shit. And I've watched you go from a C7 Corvette that was very nice. Then you went to a C8. Then you had an Escalade. What else? I know I'm missing something.
With two of the Escalades.
Yeah, you had two Escalades. You had a ton of nice work trucks, and then you had a C8.
I got this year I have 4 21 models and 21. The 21 F450. I spent a crazy amount of money on the wheels. The show Escalade, the new Escalade with 2 sets of wheels on that one. The C8. And now I finally get, I've got this car. I've already dumped so much money into it this week.
How did you like the C8?
I liked it, brother. I liked it. I really did. I didn't have no complaints with it. It was a beautiful car. I put a nice, beautiful wrap on it. My thing is I gotta, I've upgraded every time, and now I've got this AMG and I really like it, and I love the wheels that I purchased for today, and the turbos is coming in Friday or whatever. But it's a sick car. I love it, man. I mean, I never thought that sometimes the other day I was stuck in traffic, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, man, how did this happen? How did this happen that I'm sitting in this, $180,000 car with, this and this and that on it? And it happened, man. It happened from hard work, treating people right, and that's it.
We both have a look back and a garage theory. If you buy a car and you don't look back at it after getting out of it, every now and then, you bought the wrong fucking car. And if you don't go into your garage, I would say for probably a week after buying it, and just look at it, make that bitch still here? All right, cool.
I do that 5 times a day.
Yeah. If you don't do that, you bought the wrong damn car. Because I remember after you got the pizza, you were saying, man, I'm just in the garage staring at this motherfucker.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, half of it is just looking at it, and the other half is was just me kind of thinking to myself, I can't believe this is sitting in my fucking garage right now. Mm-hmm. Just from having looked at it. I mean, not that it's been out that long, but ever since I learned of it, just thinking like, God, I can't even imagine having that fucking thing. And then I had it, and I was just like, holy fuck, man.
I mean, it was a trip. And it's just like you with anything. And I do the same shit, but it's always fun being the guy who gets to see it. We go pick up his car, and he's like, man, I ain't going to drive fast. I'm going to baby this bitch all the way home. Man, we hit the interstate. Boom. It's like, bitch.
I think if I hadn't had the GTB for 2 weeks, before it, it would have been harder to feel that comfortable. But because, the operation of it is the exact same, as it was easier to feel comfortable with it, I think. But
and he calls me, is it a week ago, 2 weeks ago? He calls me, and we're on the phone for an hour and 15 minutes. I'm thinking of doing this, and I said, dude, you just need to do this. No, I ain't going to do that. I just want the car to look good. I don't need it to go fast. Okay, cool, sure. Yeah. And he orders parts that he's going to order, and then I think it's 2 to 3 days later. So, man, I'm going to go ahead and do what you was talking about with the other stuff while it's down there. And then he's like, I'm not going to spend any money on these wheels. And we're out to this dinner Saturday, and he's showing me wheel. I'm thinking to myself, I bet you he orders those by Wednesday. Yeah. And sure enough, today he comes in, and he's like, man, I did it. I ordered them. Yeah. It's fun watching that because he'll tell me, man, I shouldn't have spent that money. And you've said it a couple times. I do the same shit. I shouldn't have spent that money. What happens if we all walk out this motherfucking building right now, a tornado or a bus or something hits us?
Yeah.
What the fuck did it matter what we did if we didn't have any kind of fun trying to get there?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, you can't take it with you. And so, yeah, I mean, to me, you should, I know we've talked about this a lot of times, like not to the detriment of your family and business and whatever, but, you should reward yourself for hitting milestones and enjoy the things that you want to enjoy, or what's the point,
Yeah. I would say as 3 business owners right now, and I know you do it, I do it, and I've heard you do it. I have a bunch of shit. And I'm going to say it's shit because it's stuff that I just accumulate. Like I have impulse buys. I go out, I bought a Challenger. Why? Fuck, I don't know. I just wanted it. I bought a Aprilia. Why? Because yours was fucking fun. I'll go buy just random shit, and then I look at it and I see, because I don't pay cash for all mine, so I can write shit off a little bit different. And I'm looking at it and it's like, fuck, I'm spending this and this a month. So if I take and I get rid of these, so we do all this dumb shit and then we consolidate it back. And then it seems like 6 months later, we're back out doing that dumb shit again. It's like, man, I don't have that again.
Yeah.
And it's a never ending circle. And
Yeah.
I always bounce it off him. Hey, man, I'm going to do this. And I know what he's going to say. He's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Even if he's thinking that's stupid. He's like, that's a great idea. And he'll do the same shit to me. Hey, I'm thinking of it, man. That's a good idea. And you'll do the same shit.
Yeah, we're just looking for co-signers.
Just somebody to validate the.
You tell your wife or your banker or someone who's actually looking at it and they're like,
who's actually responsible.
This is fucking stupid.
Like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah, same with Christy. But she just learns because she knows I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. No, that's how it is. I mean, if you're not going to talk about, hey, we don't need dinner, right? Ever? Sweet, I'm going to do that then.
Yeah. It's fall. We don't need electricity for the next couple of months.
Yeah, we open the windows.
Do you have a pinnacle dream car?
No, I really can't say I do. I have been eyeing that 812, but of course, I would really have to, grow my business to afford something like that. But I don't, man. I've everything that I never thought I'd have the things I got right now. But all of y'all's cars have been my dream cars. Just the some of them I won't fit in, man. But I like the car you got in your garage right now, brother.
Yeah, that one's fun.
Yeah, I mean,
I picture that with the same exact wheels on that 812, man. That'd be sick.
See, now he's trying to get me in the wheels.
Yeah, wheels are something for me that I really almost all things cosmetic with a few exceptions. I mean, I've gotten more into it, I guess, hanging out with you, but a few years ago, like I didn't do anything that was cosmetic. Like if it wasn't affecting something performance-wise, I just wasn't interested in spending money on it. But
he's the same one that had stock motorcycle exhaust, stock car exhaust,
Yeah.
and everyone I get, what are you doing to it? I'm going to get exhaust on it. And for a while, we had all the same cars, pretty much, just different colors. And he's like, what'd you do? I did an exhaust. I did this. I'm going to just be happy with mine. And then, hey, man,
2 weeks
get
later.
that exhaust for.
Yeah, and then I hear it, or I'm driving behind you, and I'm like, God damn it, that sounds good.
I want to hear the Porsche, man.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
We do talk about the cars. We just
Yeah.
talk about where we live because that Danny chick, she'll be over here so no. And one of the listeners and a really good part of the show, she's always in the chat. Her name's Danny. She's really cool. She got the Plunger, the Matchbox car up there.
Oh, okay.
And then
We
there's another one
bust
over
our
there
chops
on the
about
corner.
shit. But
Yeah. All kinds of cool shit. Yeah. Sleep aid. I was talking about not sleeping and she sent us sleep aids. Cool. Yeah. And then we have people send us their underwear and it's weird because they're dudes.
Oh, no.
and it stinks like fuck.
Oh,
it's like
man. Come on.
Brandon, you got to stop doing that. Yeah, but your motorcycle too. We didn't even talk about that. That motorcycle is a custom built on air. What brand's that?
It's a Harley Davidson.
Is it a Harley?
Road King.
That thing is a.
Yeah, there ain't nothing custom about it. I mean, nothing factory about it.
I was gonna say it looked all custom.
Yeah, no, it's all custom. That guy, so Eric Contreras. Oh,
you can say
Eric Contreras, Powerhouse Customs out of Houston. So it's so before I got out this last time, after I made parole, I was sitting in my bunk, and a buddy of mine had the subscription to Urban Bagger magazines. And on the cover,
you can get subscriptions in jail.
yeah,
That's fucked up.
yeah.
So that just goes back. I'm not beating a dead horse. Maybe I am. To me, what's the point of prison?
Yeah,
It's a consequence, right? So if you minimize the consequence, the more you minimize it, the less impact
You're
it
right,
has.
brother. You're right.
Right.
No, you're totally right. And so I seen this bike on the cover of it, and I was like, man, that thing is sick. It's still to the day. It has some of the best airbrush work. I'll show you pictures of it in a minute.
Yeah, he bought the bike.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
no
yeah.
shit.
So I bought it,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
and
awesome.
that was the first bike he ever built. And this last one, he built for a guy out of Maryland, and sold it to him for $102,000. That guy out of Maryland turned around and sold it to me for $70,000, and then donated all the money to families in need on Thanksgiving.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
That's cool.
It was a win-win situation. I think I seen you. I actually waved at you the other day when you was in your Porsche.
Yeah, so I mean, it's what I love about it's a true story of you went through some struggles, self-inflicted struggles,
Yeah.
but with the same self-infliction, you got yourself out of it by taking responsibility of I fucked up. Not doing what everybody does, and we say this a lot too, even business owners. It's not my fault my business failed. It's theirs. It's my customers. It's this person. It's this person. It's the bank. It's this. You do exactly what we do, and you take responsibility for your actions.
Mm-hmm.
And something else we preach about every time is have a support system. When you start making money, there's tons of people who want to support you. When you have money, at that point, everybody wants to be in your pocket. They want to grab your fucking pocket and be like, hey, bro, how you been?
Yeah. All of a sudden.
Yeah, because nobody supports you when you're down here. It's when you get up here. But those people who are here, that's the ones you want to stick with.
Yeah.
And, I mean, a support system is very, very important with any entrepreneur. But first of all, you have to believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe it, nobody else is going to believe it.
Yeah.
That's 100%.
I remember, when I told about this, I was like, I'm gonna start my landscaping company, because one thing that I noticed, man, that anybody that's really financially independent got their own business, or enough to buy the type of things that I want, And so I was like, man, I'm gonna start my landscaping business, because I know I had a lot of hustle. I didn't know anything about landscaping other than I was real super OCD and like to put lines in the yard and all that. But I had people tell me, it's like, why are you gonna do that? That's back-breaking work. Or that's the Hispanic communities, that's their thing. There's so much competition. I said, but they're not me. I'm gonna make it happen. And now that I've made it happen, they're like, man, how'd you do it? I think I'm gonna start me a landscaping business. But they don't see all the, it is some back-breaking work, but I wouldn't change anything. Not for the money I make.
Well, I would say if there's any more questions, but we went so long that we're running out of memory cards. We've just got a text. We have about 7 minutes left. So I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And if any of you guys enjoyed Jason's story, he has a little bit more. Let us know if y'all want to hear some more about him. If y'all don't like him, just don't comment. But check us out on the Patreon. Make sure to go give us reviews on iTunes, Spotify, your mom's bedroom wall, all them types of places.
That's already been reviewed.
Yeah. All right. All on the nightstand, everything. Leave $10 for the lights.
For a good time call.
Yeah. But guys, we appreciate it. Thanks. Peace, bitches.